Atlantic Ocean, upon me hills, so for country, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia, for Liberia, Liberia, for Liberia, yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday, it's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information. Education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia live on Kear Radio 95.9 FM. My name is Dennis Jar, and we're broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In this morning's edition of Focus on Liberia on Kear Radio, we're going to be looking at the fiscal year 2026 national budget. And specifically, we're going to look at what is in the budget, what is not in the budget, or where did the budget fall short, and how we can improve it. Welcome. Let me welcome first our producer from Kear Radio in studio, James T. Wakwe. James, welcome to the show.
Thank you so kindly, and I'd like to say good afternoon to all of you and to our listeners out there. Good afternoon. I look forward to a wonderful show this afternoon.
Thank you. Let me also welcome FOL resident economist, Tom B. Cannon. Welcome, Tom. And let me tell you a little story about Tom before we start. When Tom came from Lo-Fi, he was so brilliant. He went to Pinsville, he became student council president, but he was so scared to talk. So when you go into school, you can be scared. He said, hey, I'm going again. But yet, Tom here now. Welcome, Tom. I'm going to tell all the story.
Thank you, Dana. I know when people tell you private secret, you can bring on the show. No problem. Hi to all the panelists and hi to all of our listeners. It's an opportunity to add our voice to the discussion of this $1 billion budget.
Thank you. Let me also welcome Anthony Cornelius Fremont. He's an attorney, he's an economist, and also a financial crime specialist. Anthony Fremont is also the progenitor of Project NTR, but we're not going to talk about NTR. Let's talk about the budget. Welcome, Anthony Fremont.
Thank you, Venice. Thank you to the people of Europe for tuning in. I guess this budget affects everybody, so it's good that people pay attention so you know how it's going to be for you over the next 1 year. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let me welcome somebody we all know has the political bulldog, Mr. Anthony Kear. What you may not know that he has become the budget hawk of FOL. He lives in the budget because at some one senator told us in a gathering, he said the budget too big, we can't even read it. So Anthony Kear took his time to just bury himself in the budget. So right now, Anthony lives in the budget. Anytime you're getting out of the budget, he's asking for air. Mr. Kear, welcome to the show.
Dennis, thank you. It's good to be here. I want to say good afternoon there to Liberians in the homeland who are joining us on the radio. It's good to be here to talk about the budget. The budget is a very important instrument. It tells us whether the government cares about the people, whether the government is making the right investment in the right places. So let us talk about the budget, because the budget is like the blood of the country. And when that blood is not running in all the veins, then we have some trouble. So let's discuss the budget. I'm ready for it.
Thank you. We want to welcome all viewers from across the globe. This is Focus on Liberia Live on Kear Radio 95.9. I want us to begin the discussion by asking our resident economist just a brief overview when we say budget and how the budget is spent. And Tom is the chief of explaining things. He will make this one short. Tom, just talk to my people what the budget is and how it get to be, what we know today has the budget and draft budget, it's going to pass through a process and it come back and then the president sign it. For 2 minutes, just give up a little overview.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Before I go to the budget, let me start with a broader um, concept of public finance. So when we talk about public finance, which of course covers the budget, it serves three purposes. One, for stabilization. That means our entire public practice of public finance is used to be able to stabilize the economy. So much of the work the Ministry of Finance does, the LRA, the Central Bank of Liberia, they are all meant to be able to make sure that we have a stable economy. So ensuring stable economy on the fiscal side, the Ministry of Finance will have to play a role, and the LRA also plays a role. The other function of public finance is distribution, and that's where taxation comes in, to be able to distribute resources from people who have a lot to people who don't have much. And the budget also plays a role in that function of redistribution, from taxation to budgeting and then resource allocation. Then the third function of public finance is allocation. That means when the resources are available, who actually deploys the resources to be able to deliver the services that the citizens need? That's the allocation piece of it. And in the literature around public finance, it says that the national government is good at playing two of the roles, which is stabilization and distribution. But allocation should actually be the function of subnational governments, which are local governments, because they are close to the people, they know what the people need. So it is within these three functions that governments normally develop budgets. So we develop the budget to be able to help with macroeconomic stabilization. We develop the budget to be able to address the issue of um, redistribution. That's why we talk about taxes in the budget, and then allocation. So the Ministry of Finance does the allocation, it goes to the legislature will pass it, the president sign it, and then it goes to implementation. But just to zero down on the budget, this is an annual instrument that is developed to be able to give a signal as to this is the envelope of resources that we have this year. Or when I say envelope, this is the money that we expect to get this year. And if we get this money, these are the places that we are going to put it. So some of it go towards funding the functioning of the government. Some of it goes towards services that are delivered to the people. Some of it goes towards paying debts that we took from people. But the budget is that instrument that encapsulates everything. But one thing about the budget is that, my professor in public finance at Duke normally used to say, if you want to know a country, ask for the country budget. Just like they say, show me your friend and I will tell you who you are. Your country budget says a lot about who you are as a country because of the priorities that are in there. So today we are discussing the 2026 draft budget. It's called draft because the legislature has not passed it, the president has not signed it, but it should tell us who we are as a country in terms of the priorities that we are put in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me also call on and Tony Conyers Freeman. Today we're going to discuss a little bit. The discussion is in three parts. The first part is what is in the budget. And I know a lot of people have discussed this. So you know, I want you to kind of step through a little bit what is in the budget. Let me flash some things on the screen so that you use any of these things to just step us through what is in the budget
Well,
as an overview.
maybe we can go back to the ones that have the fiscal table 2026. Yeah, yeah. So that over there sort of summarizes uh both the incoming funds, money coming in, and money going out. There are a few things to take note of over there. The first thing is that okay, yeah, they much talk about 1.2 billion. The budgeted revenue going from 880 to 1.2 billion, 880 million. But there are instances of bad news on that page. The first instance of bad news is that there is likely to be a budget shortfall for this 2025. Because if you look at that middle figure year to date, that projection shows you that with only 2 more months remaining in the year, it's almost not likely that the government will meet their budgetary target. I project maybe plus or minus $50 million budget shortfall for fiscal 2025. So, if you look at the expenditure side, the money going out, there is also bad news. A few instances. One, instead of recurring expenditure going down so that there can be more fiscal space, it is going up. Anytime recurring expenditure is going up, that's bad news. Any way you look at it, it's just very bad news because it should be coming down, not going up. The good news on that page, of course, if you look at the debt payment, most of it is domestic debt. So government is going to pay Liberian citizens, and Liberian citizens will have free money, or they could invest that money in the country, use it to make their life better. So that is the good news there. Government will be paying a lot more domestic debt, so people will get paid. But it doesn't look good if you are looking at the future of the country. Dennis, at this point, year number 3, there is no reason why recurring expenditure should be going up. It should be coming down. No reason. Secondly, why do we repeatedly have budget shortfall? Are our people at finance ministry not smart enough? What is the problem? They don't know projection? They didn't study their calculus well in college or what? But the problem is, I think they are unreasonable when they are making the projection for the revenue. So they project on the high side and almost always end up with a budget shortfall. So let me start on that note because that gives a basic summary.
Thank you. Mr. Sear, you live in the budget these days. So anytime you get out of the budget, you can't even breathe. What is in the budget? When you look at it, what is in the budget for you that jump out of you that you want to focus on?
Well, Dennis, it's good to have a perspective of the budget. And John did that very well. He took it from the professional perspective. I would take it from the layman perspective for all of us to understand. So the national budget is supposed to be a country's development blueprint. It should not be a payroll document or a travel allowance plan. This budget you see, you ask me what is in the budget. What's in the budget is payroll and allowances and perks for government officials. The government is short completely on investment that will lead to growth, that will lead to improving the human and material conditions of our people. And that what makes the budget very, very sad. For example, if you look at the budget, it's big on salaries. And the salary we're talking about here, Dennis, the salary for the big people, the government officials, senator, representative, the judges, and the ministers, that's the salary we're talking about. The salary in there for the ordinary people, the teachers, is far too less. In fact, the budget did not increase anybody's salary. I repeat, the budget did not increase anybody's salary. But the government increased the compensation, the allowances for government officials. It put more money in the budget for travel, and that money go in their pocket. So this budget is light on production. When it comes to productivity, agriculture, manufacturing, the government is near zero there. Innovation. You're talking about youth empowerment, Dennis? How much is in the budget for youth empowerment? If you look at the Ministry of Youth and Sport budget, it tells you the story. Now, in the budget, they put there national football, and they put 1 million. What is national football? Now, everybody interpreting it, they're celebrating the government for putting 1 million in there for Lone Star. But in the budget, it says national football. So some people assume it's Lone Star because further below the border, it will tell you 50,000. They have 50,000 for SKD. This is the #1 stadium in the country, and you put 50,000 there. Then you hearing me? I say 50 million, 50,000. That is what they have in the budget. This is a place dedicated to promote sport in our country. 50,000. But go check on any senator. Most of the senators, they're getting more than 50,000 annually for allowances alone. And I'm talking about their cars, their travel, and all that. So, Dennis, to conclude this budget protects the powerful and it starves national development. The government is a betrayer of trust. You have a teacher whose responsibility is to mold the minds of future leaders in our country. You paying that man $150, no allowance whatsoever, but you maintain a 10,000, in some instances 7,000 for government officials, some of who you pay money to them for generator and cars. So Dennis, I tell you this budget here is a payroll document and an allowance plan for government officials. It does not invest in Liberia. Nothing.
Just before you drop the mic, let's talk about what do you see there for your city in Grand Cru? Because of municipal, Grand Cru has more cities than Nimba County. We all know that, right? So, do you see anything when you look at the municipal budget? Do you see anything for Southtown or Barclayville or Picnic or any of the cities in Grand Cru?
Well, Dennis, the municipalities in Liberia, they get far too less in terms of budgetary allocation, which is very sad. So you ask for from Barclayville to Southtown. Now, in the budget, they are saying that they're going to be constructing about 50 kilometers of road construction. And what's in the budget is coming from ECOWAS and other partners. It's not even coming from our own government.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
No, I said let's stop there. So, because what I learned also is only Monrovia and Kingsville are the only two cities government from, but we'll come to that. Let me
Yeah.
go to James in Morovia. James, I know people are talking about the budget in Morovia radio station and everything. What is the focus of the discussion in Monrovia when it comes to the budget? And what are your thoughts?
And of course, the budget is the need that the entire country feeds on. So definitely expect people to debate the issues about the expenditure and income of the budget and what is the point of the government, raising to reach that. But however, there are few issues that people have raised with the budget, particularly with the issue of revenue generation. How does the government intend to raise this money? Because it's not only about the big figure that Liberia has reached $1 billion budget, but it's about being able to raise the necessary funds, the revenue to get the budget to where it is. If not, you will end up having a shortfall. But however, the finance minister has reassured Liberians that there will be no shortfall next year, as the country did not experience shortfall this year, according to him. So the same thing will happen next year. So, and another issue has been the issue of lawmakers. Their money allotted to the legislature. Last this budget year, you notice that they had about, let's say, 40 million, and then the exact amount that was spent is about 39 million. And this next year budget they have over 50 million allotted to them again. So that is an increment in their budget. So the question is, why is the government increasing the budget of the legislature when they should be reducing the budget to at least focus on other infrastructure development initiatives across the country? Another component is the issue of salaries. So I think one of the panelists mentioned that no salary was increased, but then you have over 70% of the budget going towards salaries, or recurrent expenses. So you have a very small portion going towards infrastructure development and other, things like that. But that is the main concern about Liberians, that why is it that scholarship initiatives, construction of roads, agriculture, education, all of these things are not being prioritized, like the health sector. Though they receive increment in the budget, yes, but then how intentional is the government to ensure that these sectors are significantly improved so that Liberians can directly benefit from the budget? And also, you look at the small businesses, what is there for Liberians to benefit from, those who are doing businesses across the country? What is there for them? You have a very small portion there for Liberian businesses to five. So these are issues people are discussing, and whenever these things come up, there definitely be people who will come up with expert opinions about them. Also, people will come up with their own opinion and how they see it.
Thank you. Let me go to Tom now. Tom, what's in the budget?
Dennis, I think much of the discussion around the budget has been the numbers that appear in the budget. But before I answer that, and Anthony already went into it, I just wanted to make some point on something that I've been hearing out there. There are people who have been saying that, oh, this year budget is a program-based budget. I want to dispel that rumor that this budget is not a program-based budget. There's a complete difference between a program-based budget and the budget that we have. And the budget document itself says that. In the preface of the budget, it says, this framework prepares the transition from traditional line item budgeting to program-based budgeting. So that means we've now really gotten to a program-based budget. A program-based budget is developed out of programs that are developed by sector ministries. So if this is a program-based budget, for instance, we should see all of the programs from the Ministry of Health. If they are trying to invest in our care program, there has to be a program document And then that program document is subdivided into specific projects. You have iCare, you have Child Help, you have different projects under the programs that the Ministry of Health wants to implement. And in those programs and projects, we have clear results. We have clear indicators that we can measure. And then we have clear activities. So this budget is not a program-based budget. It is just on the path to lead us to that point. It says that the projects were drawn from the AARD. So that's a sentence that says to us that at least the budgeting is now linked with the National Development Plan. And that's where you see countries implement this thing they call the medium-term expenditure framework. You want your annual year budgeting to be linked to your 5-year development plan. That's why if you go through the budget, you see indicated figures for 2027 and 2028, because that's the way MTF works. So you don't just develop budget for 1 year. The other thing I want to say is that because the budget has gone up, you expect that there will be increment across many areas in the budget. So you will see some institutions getting additional 1 million, additional 2 million, additional 1.5 million. That's because the resource envelope has increased. James asked a question about people saying, where will the revenue be raised? If you read the budget document, there are pointers that are provided there also. They say they are going to put 2% presumptive tax on concessions. General services, goods and services tax, GST, is increasing. The percentage is increasing from 12% to 13%. And this is a gradual move towards the 15% that will come into place when the VAT is introduced, I think, in 2026. And then also the budget document says that there is going to be taxation of digital services. And this is very key because in taxation, there is something we call compliance risks. And digitization is a huge compliance risk. People who do business online, there are people who go to China and bring their goods, but they don't rent a store to put it there to sell it. They keep it at home and then they pull it online. If you need it, you drive to them, you go and buy it. It's very difficult for revenue authorities to tax these kind of people, digital services that are delivered. So the government says they are going to pay a little bit of attention to that. So these are places the revenue is expected to come from. There are two types of revenue in this budget. There are some that are forecasts from different types of revenue that we collect from taxes and non-tax revenue. So you see taxes, for instance, personal income tax, corporate income tax, other forms of taxes that we collect, property tax. Then there are some other forms of revenue people are talking about one-off. You sign this document, you get signature document. The risks associated with these will be the issue of their passage by the legislature. And that's where, for instance, for me, I have a little bit of a reservation around this Metasty $200 million. Because we've already placed it in the budget, and the concession agreement needs to go to the legislature for debate, for them to pass it. When it is already in your budget, it puts you at a disadvantaged position when it comes to the negotiation. Because you already put it in the budget, you've already allotted it to projects. And as of January 1st, people will start to get into commitment to implement these projects. So if that negotiation does not do well, there's a problem with the $200 million coming in. It stores all of these projects that are in the budget, and then you might have to recast the budget. So you are giving ArcelorMittal more of an advantage when it comes to that negotiation. And it's also with the oil deal and other deals. So there are some risks that are associated with that. On the issue of the core revenues that we need to raise, if growth does not go to the 5.6% that is projected, then we might not be able to raise those revenue, because revenue is a function of the overall economy. But if we hit the 5.6%, then of course we might have that confidence that we'll be able to raise these revenues. The other concern I have is that what was the growth for 2025 that these projections were made on? Because from the beginning of the year until October, we were under this impression that we were going to grow at 4.6%. But then the last IMF mission that came into country downgraded our growth from 4.6% to 4%. So if the projections were made at 4.6 and we are back to 4, then we have a little bit of a risk there. So, and in terms of citizen participation, there was not much citizen participation in this budget. I think they said they had consultation in 13 counties, but only 6,500 persons were consulted out of 5.6 million people. And that increased our position in the International Budget Partnership ranking. Our percentage for citizen participation increased, I think, from 7% to 15%, which is like a double, but that's not much of an improvement. If you look at transparency, for instance, we are already at 51%. So in terms of the development of the budget, there is still no much of a citizen's input into it. Civil society plays only a limited role on the fiscal council that they have. Not much of citizens or civil society input into the budget process. It is still heavily driven by national institutions. So I think these are things that we need to fix as we move forward. In terms of what is in the budget, I mean, you were showing the slides. They are all there: education, health, transparency, accountability, and the figures are all there. I think with time we'll get to discuss some of these figures. But I just wanted to go back to the development of the budget, on the limitations that are there, on how we can improve it actually moving forward.
And Tom, you said something in the preface, right? So in the preface, the government mislead us to say this budget is program based. That's not a true statement.
No. The government did not say that. It's other people who are saying it. As I read what the government itself said, they said the framework prepares the transition from traditional line item budgeting to program-based budgeting. So that means they are on a path to go to a program-based budget. But this particular budget, 2026, is not a program-based budget.
Okay. And yeah, they threw it there so that they can. Yeah. So before we go to our next segment, Anthony Freeman, I want you to conclude there. So based on what is in the budget, you were making a prediction of a budget shortfall. So I want to ask you, based on what is in the budget, the sector allocation here, we see public administration, 466 million and so on. These are things that everybody, can open the budget and read. But what is your interpretation? What does this all mean?
The budget shortfall, firstly, I predicted it because the government projected, the government gave an actual for year to date. So it means only 2 more months in a year. So if you got 10 months of what you're supposed to get in a year, it's very easy to know how much 2 months will get you on average. So I'm saying, based on what the government reported, that it's likely to be a $50 million budget shortfall for 2025. Based on the information provided by the government in the budget as what they collected from January to October ending, meaning they only have November and December. So that's my projection. It could be more or less, but that's my projection. The other thing I want to say, Dennis, if you have a hope that this government is going to do something for you, this budget tells you that just forget it, there is just no hope.
Amen.
I'm telling you, there are 1 or 2 instances, like in the funding for the DEA, they have some money there, LEC, and Public Works. Those are the few bright spots. Some money for DEA, some money for electricity generation and Public Works. After that, there is nothing else in that budget that will tell you. Let me give you an example. The future of the country is in agriculture, youth services, community development, and transparency and accountability. How in this world Mr. Bwaka, who presents himself as an agriculture president, can give $22 million to NSA for covert operation that they will not account for, and give $13 million to agriculture? Does it make any sense? Maybe it makes sense to other people, but it doesn't make sense to me. Commerce and industry, the same thing. NSA got 22 million, commerce and industry got 16 million. What is really going on to NSA that they must have more money than youth development, more money than agriculture, more money than commerce and industry. What is really going on to NSA? What is going on? So it's a problem. The other thing I want the people to take note of, if you just look at the president, vice president, and a few of his services like foreign affairs and EPS, when you put that together, that 54 million right there, just president, vice president, EPS, and foreign affairs, you put that together at 54 million.
If you
are not spending your,
I said if you add NSA to that, then that's 75 or 76 million.
You're talking about 75 million. I mean, you are taking the entire resources of the country and the president, the vice president, foreign affairs, and EPS right there, that 54 million. How? That is just cruelty, because you were selected to head the government, but this is a country of 6 million people. Why a handful of people will decide? So if the president and the vice president and the foreign affairs, just a few of them among them, they take 54 million. The national legislature take 50 million. Right there, that 100 million. Before you, how? So as a result, if you are in business, you're not going to get any assistance. If you are in agriculture, you're not going to get any assistance. The young people who always battle cry for these politicians, well, they don't care about you, because even NSA got more money than youth development. People who in business, commerce, and industry, how are they going to get assistance? No, you take crooked security people and give them more money. So we have a problem there. So if you had a hope, because this is the 10th year, this is year number 3. So if in year number 3, your priorities are still not in order, did you ever think that under Bwaka, agriculture, the entire agricultural industry will get less money than NSA, National Security Covert Operation? Because these people have not come to help. They only came to make sure, apart from the 50 million that they put for themselves already, they take another 20 million, they send it to NSA so they can go there and collect it without accountability and say it's for covert operation. This is cruelty. But you know, if the Liberian people, they can get vexed. In other countries, the citizen can get angry. They don't know the citizen can protest. The citizen can make it known to the politician that this is not fair. In Liberia, the young people spend their time making battle cry for people who are damaging their life. You put up the case of police up, Dennis. Take the case of police training. The police training is like, I think, maybe 400,000. 400,000. But these guys are spending money by the millions. So where is the development going to come from? The other thing I see is that most of the public sector investment project is tied to that 200 million coming from, or quote unquote supposed to come from, outside of meter. And this is a very bad strategy. Because if you, let's just say you be working, you win a lotto. Let's say that money sound like you win lotto. There could be natural disaster in Liberia. If it's blow up that entire 200 million, suppose there is a natural disaster, how you solve that problem? You know? So the fact that you're anticipating 200 million doesn't mean that you should take the 200 million and allocate everything without putting something aside, maybe for natural disaster, without putting aside maybe for next year in case you might have problems. You don't put anything aside, you just blow the whole thing up. So if this is year 3 and this budget is looking like this, I'm telling you, Liberian people, that country is finished. Joseph Bwaka, just how he ran his personal life, after 12 years, he was living on loan. He is running that country straight down into the grave. You're not going to get any hope. That's my thinking on it.
Dennis, can I take 30 seconds?
Okay, sure. And then Anthony will come in with 40 seconds.
Yeah, I'll just give chance for Anthony to come in. But on the issue that Anthony Freeman is going back to repeatedly, I don't think he has a strong reliance on saying that there will be a budget shortfall. The first thing we have to remember is, like I said initially, growth has been cut from 4.6 to 4%, which is like we have lost 0.6% of growth for 2025. One would have expected that by this time, the LRA is not even meeting up with its revenue collection targets. If you go back and dig into that 0.6% that we lost, for instance, you will see that the closure of USAID projects in the country contributed to that reduction in growth. But yet the LRA has been keeping pace. So year to date that he referred to, the LRA has collected 678,653,000 out of a domestic revenue envelope of 804,672. So that means for the past 10 months, LRA was collecting 67,865,000. For the remaining 2 months, LRA is left with 125,974 that they need to collect. If you divide it by 2 months, it's 62,987. So that means they have less to collect as compared to the past 10 months. And for people who work on taxes, there are some form of taxes that are paid on an annual basis. So that means it will be at the close of the fiscal year that people will pay these taxes. And the Director General, or the Commissioner General of the LRA has already come out to say we are on target. We are very sure that we are going to meet our target rate, regardless of the reduction in growth. So to just sit and just look at numbers and say, I'm projecting that there will be a budget shortfall of 50 million. Where does that come from?
Okay, let me respond to you. The very first Lancet revenue envelope, year to date says 692.
Yes.
If you minus that money from the 880 that were projected, what will you get?
No. Go to domestic revenue.
No.
Don't
You
use
made
the
your
692.
discussion. I'm pointing out to you where but you claiming that I taking my figure from nowhere, so I'm telling you where it's coming from. So
No. My question is,
you end your thought.
No.
Yeah.
So when you do that
but
calculation,
the figure he's calling is overall government revenue. That portion has external resources in there. Use the figure for domestic revenue.
No, I can't use the figure. I have to use the overall figure. I can't use the figure for domestic. I have to use overall figure.
You don't understand it. The money that comes from the EU in terms of budget support that LRA is supposed to collect it.
It's not an issue. The issue is, it's not an issue. The issue is, no, but Thomas, you got to give me a chance if you raise an issue. The issue is the government overall projected 880. Now they are 690. The difference is 188. But if you are collecting around 60 on average, it means you can only collect 120 or 130. It means there's going to be a difference of 50. So it's just simple addition and subtraction. Why are you coming to Ireland with doing calculus here?
No, that's why you're not understanding. The 880 is the overall budget.
I am speaking on the overall budget. I'm not speaking on LRA. I'm speaking on the overall budget. Okay? I'm saying there's likely to be a budget shuffle.
You don't, it means you don't understand what you are discussing.
Okay, let's leave it. Say you understand it.
Tom, let me ask a question.
Yeah, ask a question.
Tom, my question to you is budget shuffle only on domestic revenue or the overall revenue?
No, so budget shuffle is not only on domestic revenue. You can have a budget shortfall, even with the, like I was discussing, the 200 million that is to come from Metosty, you already put it in your budget. If that money does not come, it is a budget shortfall. But if you are saying that I'm predicting that the LRA will not be able to collect,
no, I said I predict a budget shortfall, not LRA. If I say LRA, then I mistake. I said budget shortfall, not LRA per se.
No, you said based on the trend that LRA is going with, you are not sure they can collect the remaining within.
Okay, maybe that's a mistake. The point I'm making is that maybe that's a mistake. The point I'm making is that based on what you are reporting that you have collected up to the end of October, with 2 more months remaining in the year, on average, you are collecting, you will be able to collect 120, but the difference is 180. So it means that there is a $50 million likely that you may not collect. That's the point I'm making on the overall.
Hold on. So let's do the math there. So of that 180 remaining, how much of it is supposed to come from LRA and how much of it is supposed to come
I don't want to go into the LRA rule. I'm saying overall,
you will not be able to collect that money based on the average revenue intake.
Right. So of that remaining one, how much supposed to be external?
You might collect 130. You might collect 130. So that is likely who. Yeah.
If we look at of the one that is outstanding, how much of it is supposed to come from LRA and how much of it is coming from?
No, that would be too detailed for a talk show.
No, I'm coming.
It's too detailed for a talk show.
Because that's the point Tom making. So Tom, let me ask you now, how much of that outstanding, because if we're coming from external resources, maybe we have it already. Or it will come from, so how much of that, if we break that down, how much is coming from LRA, how much is coming from external resources for us to know whether we're going to reach our target or not?
Dennis, if you go back to the budget, the figures are all listed there. This is why I was saying to him, the first line under revenue, table 1.4, the first line in red is total government revenue. And the total government revenue consists of domestic resources that we collect as well as external resources that we get.
Thomas,
So
I was
out
very
of
clear that
880
I was speaking on the entirety.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm not concerned about LRA per se.
Hold on to the frame of reference. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, right. So you see the overall, the 880 he's calling is the overall government budget.
We get it.
For this fiscal year, for 2025. Out of that 880, there is 804 that is domestic revenue, which the LRA needs to collect. So if you subtract 804 from 880, you are left with 76 million. That means there is 76 million in this year budget, and it's written there. External resources, 76 million. So year to date, as of the end of October, the LRA has collected out of 804 million, the LRA has collected 678 million. So the LRA is actually left with 125 million. That's what I'm saying. So if you divide it by
that within the next 2 months.
2 months, and the Commissioner General has already said, and that is even less than the monthly average that they are collected over the past 10 months.
Right. And then
so my question to you is that
they want for external resources. How sure are we we're going to collect it?
The external resources in this year budget, I think, was from the World Bank budget support, and the EU, I think, around 20 million or so. These resources are in. If they are not coming, the Ministry of Finance will let you know that we expected this money from the World Bank and the African Development Bank and the EU, and it did not come. So in the external resources sector, we have no signal that the resources are not going to come. LRA is saying that they are going to meet the target. So my question to him is that on what basis is he projecting a $50 million budget shortfall?
Chop, I was very clear. You disagree. So let's just keep it like you disagree with me. But I was very clear.
You were clear, but your reasoning has no basis.
May I come in here?
Yes, it has no basis. But you can ask again for me to clarify because I clarified.
So this is clarity, right? It's the year to date is 692. The projector is 880. The difference is 180. Based on this collection, there is likely shortfall, right? Tom is saying your LRA, what LRA needs to collect, that number for 2 months, they surpassed it already. So he's not predicting a shortfall. Go ahead.
So that difference in methodology, difference in approach. Let's leave it like that. When the year end, we'll know.
Yeah. Now that's why I put it on the screen. So we see.
You know, Dennis, the reason why we clarify these things is that there are people listening across the country. They will just go and say, "Oh, somebody said that there will be $50 million budget shortfall." Where?
That's my projection. Thomas, you already disagree.
Talking about budget shortfall, may I come in?
Yeah.
So I did my research, and the numbers I'm about to show, I got the numbers from the Ministry of Finance. All right, and this is budget shortfall data that I have. And Liberia have always had budget shortfall consistently, and this is going back to 2010. Based on the record, 2010, Liberia had a budget shortfall of 180 million. 2011, 160 million. 2012, 180 million. 2013, 220 million. 2014, 280 million. 2015, 370 million. 2016, 240 million. It continues. 2017, 210 million. 2018, 290 million, all the way. Now, for the 2025, it's a projection. All right. 2024, the minister said we did not have a budget shortfall. I'm yet to see that. My record says, my research says we have a budget shortfall of 140 million. 2023, we have a budget shortfall of 160 million. So my research is saying that, look, we have always had budget shortfall since 2010. So I will really have to go back to my research to see what the minister established is actually true, that we will not have budget shortfall this year and will not have budget shortfall next year. If that happens, that is a good thing because we need every data, because the money we have to run our country very small. So if we are not getting short on the projection, it will be a good thing. But if you look at the history, we have always had budget shortfall. So I wait to see.
Yeah, because the people play politics with the projection.
Mm-hmm.
The projection is not politics. If you don't play politics with the projection, you will not have a shortfall. Okay? But if you keep playing politics with the projection, you will always end up in a shortfall. That's part of the problem.
Thank you. I wanted to move on to it because you see, they say that.
1 second, Dennis. 1 second, Dennis.
Come on, man. We finish with the budget shortfall.
I'm not talking about shortfall. I'm not talking about a shortfall.
Yeah.
I don't want us to demonize projection, right? Look at the U.S. economy. You know, at the beginning of the fiscal year, how many people from Bloomberg, from all of these think tanks that you have in the U.S., you know how many years they've been projecting about a recession? We are going to hit a recession and we don't hit the recession. Projections, people try as much as possible to make them scientific. You use data. But the point is that every external thing that is not in the assumption, when it happens, that projection does not come true. So I don't want this situation where we think that people can just go sit down in the background and just do these things. When you project, you are projecting, for instance, like I said, we are projecting that we'll grow 5.6 next year. If that growth does not happen, then all of the projections that have been done are not going to be realistic. So this is why I really want us to be very careful. Let's not think that
Thomas himself said the way they handled it, for example, the Metasti money was wrong. So Thomas himself has given evidence that they play politics with the projection. Thomas just said it. That if he were the one,
this was the introduction. The third part is even more. So I don't want us to take too much time.
Okay.
Yeah. The second part is what is not in the budget, and I want to take two approaches here. What is not in the budget, because there are some people coming up and saying, "Oh, for instance, the first group that came up was the asset." The asset recovery task force say, hey, a lot of this is an oversight because we don't have money to really carry on the operation we need to carry on to retrieve or stolen money. And then in the House, is the Senate Representative Feca from Grand Cape Mountain say, hey, TNE district is the largest. There's nothing in it for us for help. And then I have a friend from San Luis, the head of the Sapo Campino. He said, our road here, there's nothing in there for the road. So that's one aspect of it. Then there are some cities, they say, nothing here for us. We are only waiting for a grant, but nothing is in the budget for cities outside of Painesville and Monroeville. So that's one aspect. And I'm thinking, okay, if we will give money to everything that's supposed to be in the budget, I mean, where does this stop? And how is that even done? So that's one aspect of it. And then the other aspect I want us to look at is, where does it fall short? What are the things that it didn't cover, or how it didn't look at stuff, so that we'll be able to have an idea as to why we are having this. We are setting this premise because our third segment is, how do we improve it? So, Mr. Kanye, let me start with you about what is not in the budget. What does the budget not cover, or where does the budget fall short?
Thank you, Dennis. Let me just say that a lot of things in this budget that is going to benefit citizens. We can talk about the increment in some other places and have issue with it, but to say this is a budget that is not going to benefit citizens, nothing is in the budget for citizens, it's not true. But even with all of what we have in the budget, there are limitations. There are places where progress can be made or improvements can be made. And I will just highlight some of those issues. A lot of people have spoken about this, even on this show. I don't think a lot of progress was made or attention was made to agriculture. I've heard even the minister say that in the PSRP, for instance, I think there's $4.7 million that is going to agriculture. And the argument against increasing the agricultural sector budget in Liberia has always been that there is a lot of donor funding that is going in the agriculture sector. And to an extent, that is true because normally you have World Bank project, African Development Bank project, IFA project, EU projects, USAID, when they were in the country, they have projects in the agriculture sector. But the challenge with the projects is that they are designed by those partners, and sometimes they are implemented by implementing partners outside the Ministry of Agriculture. I remember the former Minister of Agriculture, Jenny Cooper, saying that the challenge with these projects is that you cannot use them based on the way you want to deploy them because they are already designed. And it goes
When
back
they
to
say
the
we're playing cucumber, that cucumber will plan.
key command they will
Even though
play.
we can't eat it.
Yes, they have their own project staff and all of that. They report to the donors and all of that. So the Ministry of Agriculture can now easily redirect these projects. And then sometimes when these projects are designed in some other countries, the country institution itself will do research and say that this project needs to be redesigned. But you hardly hear Liberia government redesigning development project. They will just implement it the way it is. Because that redesigning itself goes through a lot of research work that you need to do. So yes, agriculture might have a lot of development dollars that are in there, but we ourselves need to put a lot of resources into it. I remember my former boss saying to me in the office once that the problem with Liberia is that when Liberia identifies something as a priority, and we the donors come to say, okay, we're going to give you money for this, instead of them adding the money, they then withdraw money from there. Then the question is, how is it your priority in the first place? You say agriculture is our priority, but since you finish putting money there, we will not put money there. So that's the situation that agriculture is in. And I will argue that it is not only agriculture, even the health sector. Quite recently, they just signed an agreement for I think $80 million, the Excel project, to be able to build primary schools across the country. I think 100 primary schools. So education itself has a lot of money. Health has a lot of money. They're still doing projects in the health sector, but we are giving them over 100 million each of these sectors, but yet we gave agriculture 13 million. And when we invest in agriculture, we'll be able to reduce poverty to a larger extent because most of our poor people are in the rural
So
area.
why Bwaka is not putting money in agriculture, saying he's an agriculture president? Why?
I mean,
Thomas, answer that question.
I'm answering the question they asked me.
Answer A. No, answer the one. Why is the agriculture president, Mr. Bwaka, not putting money in agriculture but putting it to NSA, security operation, covert operation? Thomas, answer why.
Well, he can answer for Bwaka.
I'm already answering the question. If you listen to even the Minister of Finance, the argument is always that there are development projects in the agriculture sector. I'm disagreeing with that. What else do you want me to say? I'm saying even the 200 million, why we can't put 50 million to agriculture? We put 50 million to road, 50 million to energy. Why don't we put 50 million?
Okay, let's answer because these people came to steal. That's the reason why they're not going to put money there. They will put the money to NSA, send some to FIA on a covert operation to steal it. That is the reason. Thomas saying you're not able to say, I'm saying it for you.
But okay, let me finish answering my question.
Yeah, what is not in the budget? That what you answering?
The thing about Koine is that he take these isolated cases and he want to make it an issue. If you say, why did he put all the 200 million to NSA? If they actually wanted to steal all the money, they would have put the whole 200 million to NSA and get it from there. They put $50 million in energy, 50 million in agriculture. Go to Annex 7 of the budget and see how the $200 million is allocated. additional support to commerce, additional support to social services, additional support to this. The other thing that is not in the budget, Dennis, coming back to your question, is the issue of social protection, which is very key. We have the extreme poor among us who cannot afford even to have a daily meal. We need to have a social safety net. And many years ago, there is work that is ongoing at the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection to develop a social registry so that we can identify these people where they are, which county is the poorest. In other countries, you see every national budget, there are social safety nets. At least on a monthly basis, either $10, $15 people will receive because of the nature of poverty that they are suffering so that they can have a livelihood. But this budget does not have a social net program, even though they have some project for street children, grants and other things. James mentioned this at the beginning. We really don't have a targeted support to medium small enterprises, MSMEs, even those in the informal sector. You argue that there is a project that the Ministry of Commerce is implementing with the central bank that solves that problem, but we needed to put much more budget resources into that. Climate adaptation, I think Mr. Freeman mentioned it. We don't have a lot of dedicated funds in here for climate mitigation and climate adaptation. Gender responsive planning and budgeting, there are some pilots that are ongoing, but we don't have anything in the budget on the issue of supporting women economic empowerment specifically. Child care centers, we don't have it. And this is a limitation that is coming from the AARD because the AARD is short of addressing the issue of the care economy, the old people that are in the country, those people who sit to Vamuma. How do we address that issue? There's no social safety net for these old people. Also, there is no dedicated funds for capacity building at the county level, for monitoring and evaluation. They just put money in the budget for county development agenda, then they put money in the budget for district development projects. There is no dedicated funds for capacity building. How do the counties deliver on these things that you want them to do if they cannot have the capacity to be able to do it? And then one thing that we are consistently failing on in Liberia is the issue of public housing. We have not approached it in any of the previous budget, and even not now. We don't have any money in this budget to say we are going to do some low-cost housing to be able to reduce the pressure that people pay from that the people are going through to be able to have rent. Look at the people we are taking from Hotel Africa. Where do they go? There's no public housing where we can say you'll go and be there. So I think if you say what are the things that are out of the budget that are not captured in the budget, these are some of the things that I identify that are not really addressed in this budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dennis, let me come in quickly.
I'll go to Anthony.
Just only quick.
Okay.
Go ahead, Quinn.
What you're talking about, Dennis, and what Thomas explained, we will continue to have that problem. That's why I said there are a few instances of good news, but it's mostly bad news. And if you were thinking that this government is coming to rescue you, in year 3, just know that there will be no rescue. The point I'm making, in order for you to invest, whether it's social safety net, housing, any other investment, Thomas, he's an economist, for you to have an investment, there must be savings. There can be no investment without savings. Even if you go abroad to borrow money, right? And somebody is going to invest, that money that the person invests comes from another person's savings. So there is no such thing as investment without savings. So for there to be savings, the legislature cannot make the money that they are making. Waka cannot continue to waste the money he's wasting. And at the same time, there be investment. The only way for there to be investment is for there to be a cutback on the wasteful expenditure at the national legislature, the wasteful expenditure in the president's office, all that useless money sent to national security, all that thing has to be cut back significantly. When it is cut back, take that pot of money, what we call is a fiscal space. It means you now have the leverage to say, okay, say we cut back $100 million in spending. Yeah, it's a free $100 million. How can we use that money? Oh, poor people need housing. Okay, fine. Oh, we need information technology education in our school. But you will never have investment in any sector whatsoever if you don't have savings. Thomas, tell me, you know economy, can there be investment without savings?
No, that's a good point. No, Tom, don't respond yet. I want us to go over what is not in the budget, and we don't, for the sake of people listening, our people have a way that by the time they feel that you criticizing their president or their leader or their party person, the rest of the things you were saying, they just think they're political. So let's take our time to discuss what is not in the budget. And Anthony Freeman will come back. I will come to you to stress what's not in the budget. Let me go to Mr. Sear first.
Dennis, thank you. There are a lot of things that are not in a budget, or completely very sure that it will not make any impact on what is being put in the budget, or it is also left at the discretion of line ministries and agency to try to make provision for these things. And I think that is a recipe for failure. Number one, let's talk about digital transformation. Tom knows, Daniel, you know also, the world is transforming so fast. Technology now plays a major role in economies. We're talking about digitization, even the collection of revenue. Does the government have plan? Well, I know at LRA, they have something going there where you can pay some taxes using mobile money. But how much is in a budget, all right, for digital transformation and e-governance? Do we have anything for e-governance? The other day, I was watching a show. The Ministry of Education, they had a Liberian firm called eSmart trying to build a portal for them so that it can make it easier for permit for teachers. All right, so that the person can just put, licensing of schools and all that. It is not they are doing it. More than likely, it is within the ministry budget. Maybe the minister will make a discretion because they just put it there in lump sum. Okay, this amount for investment, then they will make that decision. So my point is that when it comes to digital transformation and e-governance funding, Liberia needs to intentionally put money in it. That is how we bring about efficiency. Thomas talked about capacity, the technology aspect is part of the capacity. So in short, then there's nothing in the budget. For example, let's talk about the fiber infrastructure. We're talking about internet. Is there anything in the budget? We always hear about, the fiber is right at the Atlantic Ocean there. Is there any money to connect our country through internet? I'm not sure. Now, e-commerce and technology innovation is another thing we are lacking right there. Now, let's talk about the national housing, Dennis, and our renewal plan. Do we have anything like that? Tom started the example of the people at Hotel Africa, they are removing. How you remove your poor people from that place and you don't make any provision as though the money you're spending to run the government are your money. The money belongs to those people also. Circumstances and conditions got them dead. Have some heart at least. But they just removed the people. The other time we saw that there are a lot of, mostly young people at World Trade Center. Our government invaded those people without any plan whatsoever. How can you treat your people like that? How can you do that? So is there any money in the budget for people like that? People that have skills, that are doing some productive activities for the government to help them, so that they can have a space where they can be able to carry on those productive activities for them to bring about income? No, we don't have that. So yeah, Tom made a good point there. Let's talk about Morovia is drowning in what? Slum. Is there anything in the budget to help these slums community? When the rain comes, we all know what happened. We all know. Now, poor drainage, maybe MCC is doing something about that. So that is a problem. Then there's another big one is diaspora investment mobilization strategy. Do we have that? The government did a good thing. They came to the United States the other time. There was a big diaspora forum. They have a diaspora office. And we all know that the diaspora Liberians are, remitting over 500 million in our country. If every penny stopped going in our country, we'll have a disaster. Then they tell me, is there any money in the budget that diaspora Liberians can access to invest in Liberia. There are some people that have brilliant plans, they may not have the money. Some have already started businesses. They might need a little more to increase capacity, to increase production, to increase services, or whatever they need to do so that they can hire more people. We're talking about employment here. Is the government thinking in that direction? No. There is no penny in the budget that diaspora business owner can access. Focus on Liberia as a media institution. If we want to go in Liberia to increase our services, to provide education, can we go to our government? Look, we need funding here. No, there's nothing there for us. It means that we are not Liberians too. Why? This is a very major part of our country. The diaspora Liberia contributes significantly. So putting money in the budget that they can access, you can't go wrong with that. But there's nothing in there, Dennis. Now, don't talk about the agriculture. Let me go further on that. Food processing factory. What we see that they put in the budget, then for the most part, is that seed, fertilization, tools, hand-to-mouth farming. So, and most of the things, like Tom, accurately stated also, the agriculture ministry or sector is basically funded by what? Donor funding, people getting their program and projects. That's what the government is depending on. That is why, for the most part, you see they put 4 million, 5 million in agriculture. What is that going to do? So instead of that, we should have money in the budget for food processing factories. We should have money in the budget for storage and coaching system. All right. We don't have any of these things. I'm not saying the government should go and do, but put money in the budget so people that are in the lines of businesses can be able to access these facilitate these funds. All right. So that they can increase, or value addition to the things that they are doing already. There are a lot of Liberians who are carrying on production in Liberia. I visited some of them, but they don't have access to any funding that is coming from the government to increase their capacity. Then I have a lot. National student loan. Most of us that came to the United States, blessedly so, that student loan made us to have education today. But in our country, there's nothing. Absolutely nothing. And some of our ministers today, student loan got them the degrees they have today for which they are ministers. They enjoy it in another man's country. They have now that opportunity to provide that same opportunity for their brothers and sisters in Liberia. The government cannot do that. And somebody listen to all they say, oh, they're criticizing our political leader. We're talking about our country. We're talking about you. There are a lot of people who are not in school today because there's no money. So there's not a penny in the budget for student loan and scholarships. Scholarship is left at the discretion of the minister. Whoever want to provide scholarship from whatever they have as allotment, it should not be there. It should not be like that. There should be money in the budget for student loan, for people to get money to go to school. We don't have anything like that, Dennis. So there's more I can continue to go on and on, but I will stop there.
Thank you. And somebody told me apprenticeship. Even the yellow machine coming, people will teach us somebody. There should be money for apprenticeship, National Job Apprenticeship Program. We've been doing ROTC for the longest, and still there is no plan for this ROTC to provide something that for job service. But anyway, let me go to Anthony Freeman. Anthony, what is not in the budget?
Okay, so I think Thomas and Anthony did a good job going through what is not in it. I want to focus on the approach. And if that approach is not taken between now and 2029, Liberian people will just complain. What people can say, they will complain tired. They will complain tired. I tell you this word, 2 words, fiscal space. Fiscal space. For you to have that fiscal space, that national legislature cannot continue to make the money they are making. They have to cut it down by 50%. That money that is being blown up in the president's office, in NSA, EPS, other places, you have to cut it down by 50% or more. You have to cut the agency that have no use, that is just a duplication of function. You have to merge the agency. When you do those things, you will have a pot of money that you will have now the decision to say, okay, this is $100 million, this is $200 million. How do we solve the problem in Liberia? But when you don't do it, you don't cut back on that useless money they're spending in the national legislature, in the president office, and other places, you are not going to have the fiscal space. Without that fiscal space, you are not going to do any other thing because your hair will be tired. Almost like what Taylor used to say, you know, he won't do something, but your hand tired and all that kind of thing. So, how do we create that fiscal space? That's what I'm telling you. Ministries have to be merged. If you look in the budget, they're not talking about merging ministries. They're not talking about eliminating some agency. They're not talking about cutting.
I said efficiency. They're not.
So how you will make progress? The first step to making progress is some agent. Let me give you an example of an agency that I found is absolutely, totally, completely useless. Law Reform Commission. What is that? You got Ministry of Justice. You probably have the president got advisor. The national legislature is there to make law. They got legal office. So what is Law Reform Commission? You got 5 persons there as commissioner. You pay all 5 of them as executive. What is that? This is a completely useless entity. So if you don't look at that budget, identify all the useless entities, like maybe Ministry of what the other one, information and
I don't know if you agree with me. The Bureau of Concession. Do we need
it? Is one of those useless agencies.
It's useless completely.
Totally useless. No use. They go there, they play Ludo, they play bingo.
That would be in your last segment. You know how.
That's what I'm telling you. Dennis, I'm talking about the method. So for you to create a fiscal space, 50 million can go to the national legislature. Maybe 20 million, 15 million or so. 50 million can go to the president office because I keep telling you the president is not spending. The president is spending 15 for his office. He's spending foreign affairs 27. He's spending VP office 3, EPS 9. When you put all the things that related to the president together at 54 million. No, cut it down to maybe 20 million. So when you're saving 30 million from the legislature, you're saving 20 million from the president office, 10 million here, 5 million here. Pretty soon you will have 100 million with nothing particular to do. Then you can sit down on the table now and say, how do I redeploy the 100 million? If you don't do it, I'm telling you, Liberian people will cry, they will complain from now to Judgment Day. Nothing is going to change.
Thank you. So when we look at the executive, 411 million, the legislature, 51 million, judiciary, 32 million. This is all salary and perks. Let me come to you, James, because the country just got a raise from 800 million to 1.2 billion. But I gave you an example last night. So it's like me now, I live on Jamaica Road. And because of this raise, people are, the legislature too, they got a raise. Even though doctors or nurses and teachers, no raise for them. They are also saying, what I'm hearing too is saying, hey, you increase the money we make, we are legislature. There are even talks of redistricting. But we got more money now, so let add more representatives and more representatives. And maybe most that, no, now not senators, let add more representatives. Right? So it's like you on Jamaica Road now you're making more money. So you say I'm moving to Mama Point. In fact, I used to drive my Peugeot. Now I'm going to buy, Mercedes. Oh, okay. The children are living with me to sell my cold water. I'm going to go for more children in the interior to sell water for me. James, I want to ask you, what is it that you are in the country? What is it that is needed that you don't find in the budget, and the people are using it to pay themselves and increase their money? They used to take a vacation to Ganta. Now they're going to Dubai. I'm just giving an example. What are you looking for in the budget to help you? Economics student, political science student, I help you.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that I would have loved to see in the budget, specifically with the issue of education. That directly affects a significant portion of the young population that we have as a country. And also, for example, like somebody mentioned about student loans. So I think our government will have to start to think in that direction. How can they provide, these things for students to at least go to school? Because even if the little free tuition that they say they have at the University of Liberia is not working. Like, if I mean, it's causing some embarrassment because the university cannot raise the necessary money to renovate key components or the buildings and other areas on the campuses. And that is something that I don't know whether they often sit and look at, like, let's plan for 10, 20 years to come and see how far we want this particular sector to go and how we intend to impact the sector. But a lot of things, I think, for example, like I said, the scholarship issue, even the external scholarship that they do, they recruit students for, it's something to even pay the money for the students that are out there. It becomes a problem. Just the content, we interview some students or receive some of video from MCSS students or people who were sent by the government on MCSS. The government has now been able to cater to them their allowance, to pay even their school fees there. They're struggling. So are we gonna continuously be in this situation for the next maybe 4 or 5 years? And another government will come and then there's nothing. And another thing again is the issue of Liberian businesses. The heart and soul of the country, I think, is how the businesses, improve or develop. The money that is in the budget for I've not really seen the Ministry of Commerce are still be corrected, but I've not seen much from them on this government. The only thing I've seen from the Ministry of Commerce often is to do inspection. They'll go to maybe one store or shop or somewhere as soon as there's noise, and then they take the inspectorate team, come back, that's all. But in terms of regulating the business sector, I've not really seen that. In terms of regulating the prices, I've not really seen that. In terms of providing subsidy for businesses across the country, I have not really seen that. And that is not being reflected in the budget as well. So I think there's a need to look at that because there are a lot of businesses in this country that can help to boost our economy. But because they have tight hands and the kind of environment that the government has created. Just the other day, someone was complaining about to import cars. They want to do car business. The amount they charge on a particular car is so exorbitant to the extent the person say, well, then just take the car, sell the car, and take the money. Because, for example, our car is about maybe $5,000, and then you importing it, through the port, and they charge you about maybe 4,000 or about 3,500 just to fill your car. So what's the profit? What are you going to get from that car? What are you even going to use maybe to import more cars to improve your business? So these are things the government need to look at because in the absence of that, we just have businesses, going down, and then the foreigners will take over the economy. And you know how detrimental it is for foreigners to control the economy. So those are things I think, that are missing and needs to be looked at.
Thank you. And Antonio Prima, I like quite the issue about saving because even in your personal life, you can make any investment, you can do anything if you don't save.
See?
So, and one thing I also don't see in the budget is rainy day fund. I mean, how do we set budget that we eat everything? There is a story. The 2,000 leg. The millipede and the centipede. So God gave them palm nut to roast it and grease themselves.
Then they always
But
got
then
this place.
the black one, he ate. So centipede ate that was centipede black and stink. The millipede kept her own hand to grease with it. That's why you see shining like that. So if we eat everything that we make, how can we make progress? Tom, I know there's something at the tip of your tongue. I want us to move on to so how can we improve it? What improvement can we make to this budget here so we don't be singing the same song?
Yeah, let me react to some of the points that were that were made. I agree with Anthony on the issue of digitization. And like I have always said, the problem with our Ministry of Finance and Development Planning is that the planning side is not working. It's not working at all. That's why on the side of budget, you can go up, you count down, that ministry is over to develop a budget. That one they can do. They will always do it. But it is the planning piece that has a problem. Like he was saying about digitization, there is no government-wide digitization strategy. Even though that everything that we are seeing today is moving towards a digital world, and you have this whole AI thing that is even coming out to add another layer to digitization, we still don't have a strategy to guide digitization across the entire government. So you see individual ministries and agencies doing small things. I saw Ministry of Education have one whole program. They say they're digitizing how people can get licensed to OP school. That should be done by one IT intern from a very good school. Whole ministry having one whole program about it. LRA is doing well, introducing digitization in the tax collection process. Even before the current commissioner general got there, they already had these fiscal devices that they were deploying at the different places. But the government, through the Ministry of Finance, especially the development planning piece, needs to sit down and say, where do we want to be in the next 5 years in terms of digitizing government services, in terms of digitizing the economy? I think UNDP and other agencies have been working with them on this whole issue of digital strategy, digital economy, but there's no strategy around it. Even our human capital development strategy, the ECOWAS had to give the government of Liberia, I think 75,000, because it was a requirement that every country that is part of ECOWAS has to develop a human capital or strategy. So they went to Bikana in a workshop, I think for 2-3 days to develop that strategy. This is where we are lacking. We have the National Development Plan, which is the AAID. And then we have individual institutions, they are developing strategic plan, Ministry of Commerce, NPA, I think MIA is working on their own. They are developing individual institutional strategies. But then sectoral strategies are missing. Where is the overall strategy for our forest resources now that we have established an institution for carbon markets? So I agree with Anthony on that. We need a national level digitization strategy to be able to guide the whole digitization effort.
Any agreement with me?
I can agree with you, Anthony, in the ending of the show. No, but to be very frank, even what we are discussing today, the public sector investment projects, when the current government was developing the AAID, the first failures that we started to hear was that they were going to develop the AAID, develop the 15 county development plan, and like I have repeatedly said, in the Local Government Act, it is not really the responsibility of the national government to develop a county development plan. The counties should develop it by themselves. But maybe the national government can help them for now. The other thing the government said they were going to develop was a public sector investment plan or a public sector investment strategy. That happens to have gone away. Where is the strategy for public sector investment? It is not there. Now we've gotten a $200 million and we just allocated in a table and say support to this, support to that, support to this. Where is the cost benefit analysis that was done for all of these projects that the $200 million is going to? Where is the electrification strategy that LEC and the Rural Renewable Energy Agency have created to guide us as to this is the approach that we want to take to electrify this country? It is not there. My former instructor, Mr. Giddens, is doing a great job at Public Works. But where is the overall strategy for rural construction in the country that anybody can get on the website and read? These are not there. The strategies are not there. And therefore, we gave money, and therefore, people are now going to use the money to be able to implement things when the plans are not in place. And there's a risk there. We should have a plan before we provide money. But when the plan is not there, the strategy is not there, you provide the money, The only approach is to utilize the money. And in the end, you have some problem with it. So, I mean, on digitization, I agree. Some of the issues that Mr. Freeman was raising on some of these entities, we need to close them down. There is one entity down waterside they call National Housing and Savings Bank, right? Who is saving money in that institution? I think in the budget they have 57K. Let's close them down. Institutions that are no longer useful, we should close them down. And that's where I don't agree with Councillor or Freeman when you say recurring expenditure should go down. As the country is growing, the public sector is widening. Recurring expenditure will continue to go up because we are creating new institutions. Before, we never had LACC, we never had IAA, we never had all of these things. But as we are growing as a country, these institutions are created. One thing we can now do is those ones that are no longer useful, we need to close them down.
But Tom, that two things, if they were already up, I think that, but both of you are correct. Talking about
no, he's not correct. He's not correct. Let's correct it.
No, when he's correct, if it was small, it gotta go up. But the thing was,
let's correct it, Dennis.
It was useless already.
I was speaking in terms of the percentage of the budget.
Yeah.
That recurrent expenditure must come down for the ordinary people to benefit. So, as a percentage, if you are spending 90% of your budget on recurrent expenditure, that is too much. The only way for the ordinary people to benefit is for that 90% to start coming down towards 80, towards 70. When it starts to come down to 70, 60%, then the benefit for the common man will start to go up. It's just very simple logic. So it doesn't matter if the government get big, but as a percentage of the total income, recurrent must come down for the common man to benefit.
Dennis,
Dennis,
I want to spend the time on how we can improve it. You have to first dream, and I like your think about strategy. Let me tell you my dream. For instance, this is focused on Liberia in Monrovia. This is the dream. So you put it down on paper, you see it, you make a visual. So right now, if we say, if we ask the government for money, we know exactly what it's going to. This is what we want in Monrovia. To be the biggest television station that will cover Africa. Now, that's why I like the strategy. We say we give money to LEC. We don't even know. We just say, and the way we are doing the budget is we are sending money to things. So the county development fund, for instance, when you used to get to sign with, and they say, okay, because there's no plan, there's no strategy, there was nothing written down for that money. So we get the money now. You say, let's divide by electoral district. So the 3 electoral districts divide 20,000. Then we say, okay, let's divide by administrative district. They divide. Then my district, different district, get her own money. Then we look at it and say, okay, we got 3 different sub-districts. So by the time the money gets to my town, it's like $20. So what that town will do with $20, then the 3/4 in the town, they sit down in the middle there and say, we represent the people, then they drinking juice. So I think there is a way we got to do this budget because we are throwing money at things that they are not even prepared for to have. No plan. They didn't show you any plan. You gave them money. What do you think they will do? They will drink liquor.
I want to make a quick point here on PSIP, Tom, if you don't mind. So if you look at the public sector,
we're talking about how we can improve it now that the last segment we own.
Yeah, that's what I'm coming to. We need to change that term, Tom, from PSIP, which is the public sector investment plan. Let's change it to public sector maintenance plan. Because, for example, if you look at MCSS budget, Tom, what they have there for PSIP, right, is just to renovate a school. I don't think that is investment and maintenance. We all know the significance of maintenance, but that is not investment. Investment is that money you spend that will lead to productivity and growth.
Renovation can do that too.
That is investment. But you put money in the budget, say, well, we abandoned these schools for a long time. Let's go and renovate the school. Then you say that investment. That's not investment. But if you put money in the budget to say, you know what, we want to digitize the MCSS school system so that a student can log in and see their grades, then that is an investment. that will make the services of MCSA accessible so that parents, like in the US here, you don't necessarily have to go on campus to see how your child is doing. And is that a big deal? No, technology is here. Internet is in Liberia. Thank God for what you call Starlink. Most of the institutions can have reliable internet. That is a good thing. Now, the other thing I want to mention is,
I agree with you.
yeah.
No, PSIP is public sector investment projects. It's not a plane.
Project. Yeah. So they shouldn't call it project. They should. Anyway,
renovation is a project. So
okay, Tom, I leave that.
I
Then there's another thing. One more 2 seconds. Training, annual training. Dennis, you notice, and Tom, you know this, workshops are not effective. And this is big in the NGO cycle. It's a money-eating thing. People go there, the mentality here is a war for the pedant. That's why people show up. And the food, that's it. Instead of using that opportunity for people to really pick up skills that will lead to efficiency in the public sector, people don't pay attention to that. It's just about the pedant. So let's forget about this workshop, because even ministries and agencies, they're having workshop. Instead of annual training, they are focusing on workshop, and that's why the capacity is low. Maybe Tom can correct me on that.
How do we improve this whole thing?
Dennis, look, like I said, and it's just very simple.
It's not simple.
No, it's simple, but you have greedy people in charge of the government. That's why it looks complex, but it's very simple. You just said it. How you can invest? There is no investment without savings. So you have to cut down the number of ministries. You have to merge the number of ministries. You have to cut down on the legislative salaries. You have to cut down on presidential travel expenditure. Then you will have money to invest. I'm also telling you, Dennis, the government is increasing spending on intelligence services. Apart from the money they send to NSA to divide among themselves, they are now sending some of that money to FIA on an intelligence gathering. But FIA intelligence comes from the financial institution and they give it to them for free. So why are you giving FIA another $2 million for intelligence gathering when the intelligence that they gather is for free? It comes from the financial institution. So we know, Dennis, in life, when you simplify things, it can work. Let it go across to the Liberian population that waiting for foreigners to invest in your country is not the best strategy. The best strategy is, if you are wasting $1 on something, stop wasting that money, save it so that you can spend it on something better in Liberia. We didn't expect that under an agriculture president, that agriculture will be among the least in the budget. But he is happy to spend 22 million, 30 million on covert operation. What is the benefit of covert operation to Liberia? So it's simple, but we want to make it complex. You need a fiscal space. How are you going to get a fiscal space? You could go out and beg for free money. You could get it. Or you could decide that, look, instead of wasting money, let's cut down the number of ministry. Let's cut down some of the salary. Let's reorganize. Then we will be able to do one. Thomas talk about planning. What are you going to plan on? You're going to plan only when you have a certain amount of savings. Even in your personal life, how do you plan? You plan when you have some kind of money sitting there, and then you say, okay, say I have $100, how am I going to spend this money? Or say I have $200, how am I going to spend it? Planning doesn't start when you don't have savings. So saving is the other side, like two sides to a coin. Huh?
I said, so you can plan to save. I want to
Dennis, can I agree with one second, Dennis. 1 second.
Tom, 1 second.
Dr. Pearson made a point in the chat. I just wanted to respond to it. Yes, there is money in the budget for, I think, rural teachers or rural nurses to build some structures for them. But that doesn't really qualify to the level of public housing, where you build all of these places in urban areas. low cost housing where people who don't have resources can go there. So yes, I agree with him on that point. And it's in the detailed notes that I have, but I did not just mention it.
Thank you, Tom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Focus on Liberia. We are live on Kear Radio 95.9 FM in Liberia. And if Kia can reach Dodo, I know my people in there in Sino County are listening to me, and I see how proud they are that we are talking about Liberia right here. For those our friends in Bapulu, in Bokondre, in Babli, also in Compound 3, Grand Bassa County, we say welcome to the broadcast. If you want to join the conversation, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. And we'll call on our man that controls and Kear Radio to announce. But Tom, I want you to think, because I think one of the problems you always talk about this program-based budget, even though I think the framers of this, those who wrote the budget, they try to play with our mind to say, oh, we are on the transition. You're not there, don't mention it. You're just trying to. So after I want you to talk, because that's one of the strategies. When you start throwing money at things and not projects or program,
Then I said we should go to how to make it better.
That's what we're talking. So how to make it better is the program based. That's one way to make it better because it's the way we're doing it. But Mr. Wakuye, please announce our numbers in Liberia.
Welcome, let's hear you.
Yeah, this is John Sato from Monrovia.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, and let me thank the discussion, the panelists.
Mm-hmm.
They make the farm point. One thing before I come in with the point that I want to make is that
no. Hello, you just have 1 minute, please. We don't have time. 1 minute, please. Let's exhaust that in 1 minute.
Okay, so the point of contention between someone and the other man is that someone is saying that when agriculture, when the government put, for example, 20 million and partner come with 20 million, then government will withdraw his pool of 20 million, which is not a good thing. It means you don't lose the sector. Because you put money there, partner come in to reinforce you, and then you will withdraw the money. The money will go, then you send it.
Okay.
So I agree with the other panel who said you want to corrupt the money they withdraw for it. Thank you.
Okay. 0247-959-959, 0247-959-959, 0881-871-670, 0881-871-670, 0247-959-959, 0247-959-959. Yeah, over to you.
Thank you.
Another person here. Welcome, let's hear you.
Hello, good evening. This is Apostle Ibaka.
Okay.
International.
Okay. Okay, curious, but please go ahead quickly.
I want to thank you and your family so much for the analysis.
Okay.
In this country, people are not prioritizing the needs of the city. Let's take, for example, our representative and our senator. They are not in our footsteps. They are only in their own footsteps. There's a reason why key area of agriculture, you can't see anything there. Key area of education, you can't see anything there.
Okay.
Because what? They don't allow for anybody to be again. We should release time to become a backup to them.
Okay. Thank you. Another person here. Welcome. Let's hear you. Welcome. Your name, where have you called from?
Thank you. My name is Abraham Kear. I call from Open Common Brazil to be precise in New London community.
Okay, you have 30 seconds, please. Quiet, please.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. I listen to all you will say, but we looking at this government bring to power. I mean, my first thing I'm looking at this government is agriculture. Because if we can see ourselves, I think we can move somewhere. That's what they look at education. Those who cannot go to school, there are some areas you are looking at key area. What they're talking about, they will just go second, so you must be very careful.
Okay.
If you want to proceed, then you look at agriculture, education, health sector. Somebody will go to hospital and get education.
Thank you so kindly. Let's get another person. Welcome. Let's hear you. That person went off. Unfortunately, 0247-959-959, 0247-959-959, 0881-871-670, FY2026 Let's hear from you on the program Focus on Liberia. We have just 5 minutes to go. Yes, back to you.
Thank you. I also want to use this time to send a shout out to Pastor Abrako To. They put together a splendid program in Morovia, praising God in my dialect, and it's going viral. Everybody enjoy it. So, when people do something good, it's good that we give them a pat on the back. So, Pastor To and team, we say thank you very much. Your program, praising God in my dialect, we really enjoy it. I also want to announce to the world that Focus on Liberia is embarking on a program to go to Morovia and open the TV station, the studio you see there. That's what we want. And so we will be needing your assistance to do this. And we'll be coming to you, expect us to come to you and beg you. We need to raise good amount of money so the kind of fine program we have in America, we can extend it to Liberia and other parts of the world. So they will see Liberia in a new light. So that's the thing that if you see me in the studio there, that's the dream. And we have everything that the program is already there, is written down. So we'll be coming to you for your help to help us. We have 4 minutes to close. Tom, let's wrap up on how we can improve the budget. So that you have that. Why do we not have rainy day fund? We eat everything we get. Why?
Yeah, I think I wanted to answer that question earlier. The challenge with putting contingency in the budget is every time you put it there, people say, we have all these needs. We have education, we have health. Why are you setting money aside? So even if contingency is in the budget, it goes to the legislature, they will remove it and then pull it to other places. So I think that's the challenge with contingency funds. To some of the callers, I think education and health, they really do have money in this budget. I think both of them have gone over $100 million overall if you look at the entire sector. So I think this is where I don't agree with people who are saying, oh, this budget is not going to benefit citizens. These resources have been increased. Also on the issue of recurring expenditure, I think...
Is it not salary when they increase it?
No, it's not salary. It's not salary. You can see the construction of new schools and even this housing that they are doing for rural health workers and teachers and all of that.
But why are you constructing new schools if the schools there are, broken? Why you can't fix the one that's broken? No, a friend went to sign over, went to the classroom. Even the pens they have to give it to teacher because nobody there. If you go to some part of Simon, everybody in the bush because there's no incentive to go to school, so they're not there.
We have short time. Let us conclude how we can make it better. Let Tom make a point.
Yeah, that's true. But yet, even those places that have the ones that are not functional, some part of the counties don't have. There are also places where population have grown. Let's look at Morovia, for instance. Are we sure that JFK and Redemption can serve the population in Morovia? They cannot. Since the Civil War ended, the government has now constructed a modern secondary school in Morovia, besides GW Gibson, Tubman High, and other places. So we need more of new schools to be created and be furnished. So, to those callers, I think there is money in the budget. Like I said from the beginning, for the fact that the resource envelope increased, many of the sectors went up. So you can see increases across the different sectors. But going back to the question as to how we can improve this, I think the budget is still with the legislature. I will call on them to make sure that the allocation to agriculture be increased. Even if it can go to $25-30 million, they can call it back from wherever Councillor Freeman has recommended to be able to give it to the agriculture ministry. I agree with you on the other issues. NSA, yes, I definitely do agree. I also do agree with closing some of these institutions. As we are moving ahead with decentralization, what is the use for LACE? LACE was a post-war entity that was created to implement quick impact projects. If counties are now going to be implementing projects, then what is the role of LACE going forward? The housing and saving bank. Let's close these down. Some of the ones that we're not using, or we reform them. But moving forward, next year, can we finally move this budget to be a program budget? Let these institutions develop their programs and develop their projects, and they publish them on their website so that we do allocation not at the institutional level, but we do the allocations at the program level and at the project level. So the 100 million are going to the agriculture education sector. We know exactly how many new schools are they going to build, how many new teachers are they or hiring, and then how do they intend to improve the quality of education, the performance of students? Can they tell us now that we are going to increase the A's that will be school in WAEC this year? That's what program budgeting can do for you. We pay for results and we don't pay for activities. Also, we need to increase citizen participation in the budgeting process. We need to make sure that some of those sectors that we mentioned, public housing, we can start with baby step and be able to move forward to be able to make sure that overall the resources are allocated in such a way that it can benefit anyone. Social safety nets. We really need to move forward on that. Many countries are doing it, especially when the economy is not performing well. You need to help your citizens that are extremely poor. So there's a lot that needs to be done, but the Ministry of Finance, we have to thank them for drafting this budget, for submitting it, for reaching this milestone. It is now in the hands of the legislature to make sure how they can move some of those resources around to make sure that where the citizens are asking them to increase, they can be able to increase them. Thank you.
Thank you. We're concluding now. Coine?
Okay, thank you. So let me just go over a few bright spots. I think the people who did the say no to drugs, I think they did a good job. It finally managed to push the government, to put some money in drug enforcement, and also in what they call multi-sectoral rehabilitation, which is like $3 million. The only worry I think of some of these projects, like extra funding for LEC and public works, is that most of it is contingent on these monies that's supposed to come from ArcelorMittal. So if there's any problem with that money, most of those things will not be achieved. So that is a problem. But yes, the fact that increases were made to the fight against drugs, some kind of multi-sectoral response, LEC and public works expenditure, I think that's a good sign. Otherwise, Dennis and Vest feel so sorry for the Liberian people because they were so happy. They said they were going to be rescued, but we are in year 3. And in year 3, it's very clear that the government have no intention to cut down the wasteful expenditure. They have no intention to cut down the corruption. They have no intention to fund, agriculture or fund Liberian businesses. So how is life going to improve? Like I said, 2 simple words: fiscal space. Fiscal space. You can't do anything in a country without the necessary fiscal space. And for you to get that fiscal space, it means that salary at the national legislature, it got to come down. It means that wasteful foreign travel that they're making all over the place, it has to come down. Okay? It means that for nothing money that going to NSA and EPS on a covert operation, and now they're adding FIU on it to say that intelligence gathering, those kind of wasteful and corrupt expenditure has to come down. If you don't hear the government talking about cutting expenditure, if you don't hear them talking about eliminating useless agencies, if you don't hear them talking about merging agency so that they can create the necessary fiscal space, forget it. You can use the common slogan, say, nothing is going to change. It will just be you change the people at the top, you still struggle and suffer and suffer. And from what I see, it doesn't look like it's going to get better because the budget continues to be a wasteful exercise, wasting the government money on the people in the government and not spending that money on the common man.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Sear, you're closing.
Then thank you. Anthony Freeman, few things. You said we're in year 3. That is not true. We are in year 2. Another bright spot you mentioned where I have disagreement is
Anthony? 2026, the budget 2026. So we are 2024, 2025. Now it's 2026. That's what he meant. Go ahead.
The man said we are in year 3.
Yeah, the budget. The 2026 budget.
I leave that. So he also mentioned that one of the bright spot is domestic debt, that they put money in the budget to pay domestic debt. He said that's a bright spot. I disagree. Most of
You
the
got 1 minute to conclude.
anyway, maybe I should just forget my conclusion. That's my meaning. Allow me to use it. You know?
Go ahead, Dennis. Let him finish, man. We got time. We got 5 more minutes.
Yeah, the interruption sometimes is not necessary.
We got less than that.
Let him conclude.
All right. So, Dennis, you really took me off track. I think I will just leave it. I want to thank the Liberian people for listening. The budget is an important document, and discussing it is something that we need to pay attention to, because it is the budget the government uses to carry on the reforms, the development that we need in our country. And I believe strongly that the way the budget is being structured is not doing anything significant. I want to see that the budget is allocated more so on the basis of counties. Let us make our counties autonomous. Let the counties be responsible for their own police, for their own education, for their own electricity. Let's start that now. That is not a foreign idea. That is not too big. That is the right thing to do. Let budget on the basis of counties. Let Grand Crew get a $50 million so I can go to Grand Crew and be superintendent, so that we can run our own schools. That is the way to go. I have so many things to say, but I was disrupted with my 1 minute, so I'll leave it like that.
Yeah. So Anthony, that's why I said from the beginning that allocation is best done by local governments. That's why we need to decentralize.
Thank you.
And also to point out that fiscal space is not only created from reducing expenditure. Fiscal space is created by increasing revenue also.
Thank you. On that note, we close with a song.
Yeah, Thomas, you're right.
We are all Liberians. Thank you again. Have a good day and God bless you.
We are Liberians.